How can we, as consumer-driven Americans, keep consuming like this? It's pretty simple. We go deeper into debt. That's how. Did you know the average American carries 4 credit cards in their wallet? And 1 in 10 Americans has 10 or more active credit cards. And the average credit card debt is over $16,000.
Hi guys, it's Helen here, aka the Penniless writer, and I wanted to share with you today some of my absolute favourite parts of YouTube, and that is TED Talks. They are free, you can learn from them, they're inspiring, it's absolutely amazing. And I've got 7 here across a load of different disciplines and subjects that I think would add value to your lives. So I'm going to share with you some of my favourite TED Talks that you can watch for free right now here on YouTube. Number 1 is Mel Robbins, and she is a relationship expert, an author, a radio host, a life coach, basically an all-round awesome person. And her TED Talk here that I want to talk about is how to stop screwing yourself over. And it is an absolutely brilliant motivational one. She talks about how our brain actually works and how you can hack it to be more productive, to get what you actually want, how to be motivated. So many people will tell you that, your dreams are up to you to make it happen. She actually tells you how to do that, and she's super funny as well, so that's a massive bonus.
Only I describe one side of your brain as autopilot and the other side is emergency brake. That's the only 2 speeds you get. Autopilot, emergency brake. And guess which one your brain likes better? Autopilot. You've had the experience where you've driven to work, right? And you get there and you're like, oh my God, I don't remember driving here. You weren't drunk. That was your brain on autopilot. It was functioning just at this level. And the problem with your mind is that anytime you do anything that's different from your normal routine, guess what your brain does? Emergency brake. If you're in your head, you're behind enemy lines. That is not God talking, okay? It's not. In fact, if I put a speaker on it and we broadcast what you say to yourself, we would institutionalize you. You would not hang out with people that talk to you the way you talk to yourself.
Next up is Dean Begonia on the true gifts of the dyslexic mind. This one was so brilliant for me because I am a dyslexic. 1 in 5 people supposedly are dyslexic, and so I think this is a must watch for everybody. Whether you have dyslexia, whether you have a child who has dyslexia, whether you're just friends or married to somebody who has it, I think it's absolutely vital they watch this because he goes into depth about how it actually affects people, and not just the drawbacks of, it's harder to read, it's harder to spell, some of us struggle with maths, that sort of thing. No, he talks about the positives as well and how you can spin it into this absolutely wonderful thing. And I really used to struggle with my dyslexia and thinking that it was something that would hold me back for the rest of my life. And after watching this truly was the TED Talk that turned that around for me. Now I'm so grateful that I'm dyslexic because it does mean that I have a leg up on a lot of different subjects.
And this actually lends to some significant cognitive advantages. We have an ability to look at a situation and identify seemingly disparate pieces of information and blend those into a narrative or a tapestry that makes sense to us that most people can't see. So this translates into an exceptional level of success in 4 major vocational paths. That's entrepreneurship, engineering, architecture, and the arts. In fact, dyslexics, when they are fully empowered and they recognize that innate intelligence, represent 35% of all entrepreneurs. They represent 40% of all self-made millionaires. And you know those rocket scientists down at NASA? 1 out of 2 of them is dyslexic.
Next up, we have Tomislav Perko. with how to travel the world with almost no money. This one, of course, tugs at my heartstrings because he's doing exactly what I want to be doing, which is traveling the world with next to no money. This is one of the guys who was really inspirational in starting my channel as well. I believe I watched his TED Talk roughly around the same time as my channel was just starting, and yeah, he explores different systems of how you can travel super cheaply, mainly couch surfing, hitchhiking, working as you go, and he's super funny. He has these amazing stories about how his prejudice was challenged, how he met some really hilarious people. Of course, his tips are super helpful as well. If you want to travel on a small budget, you gotta watch this guy, as well as me, of course. Subscribe!
Everybody was telling me, be careful. It's very dangerous, you're going to hitchhike, you're going to sleep in other people's homes and stuff like that. In Croatia, it's still okay to travel, but as soon as you cross the border, enter into Serbia, you know what Serbians are like, Be very, very careful, somebody might kill you. And I'm like, okay, thank you for the warning. And I cross the border, enter into Serbia. Amazing adventures, amazing people I met, people picking me up, taking me out, sleeping in their homes, really, really amazing experiences. And I was leaving Serbia, heading to Bulgaria. I was driving with one driver and I'm telling him that story, like how Croatians were warning me about Serbians. And he's like, brother, that's complete nonsense. Croatians and Serbians, we're all brothers. But Bulgarians, when you cross the border, enter into Bulgaria, you know what Bulgarians are like. A lot of gypsies, man, Be very careful, somebody might kill you.
My next TED Talk speaker is David JP Phillips with the magical science of storytelling. Now, I am a writer and therefore I clicked on this link and it was something that I wasn't expecting. It was so great. Essentially, he's looking at storytelling within marketing and how storytelling can be used to sell products better, how to sell services and people and brands better. And he talks about the science behind it, but it's not all sciencey mumble jumble. He actually gets some audience participation, breaks it all down in a very engaging, wonderful way. Where I'm getting into the minimalist movement at the moment, kind of seeing how sometimes brands can trick you into caring about objects and buying objects that you don't actually need. I found that this was really helpful in kind of drawing back that curtain, and then so that way I'm less likely to fall for marketing things, but also so that I can do it myself in my own business.
Well, it all comes down to one core thing, and that is emotional investment. The more emotionally invested you are in anything in your life, the less critical and the less objectively observant you become. And the greatest emotional investment of all is falling in love. Now, falling in love resembles a good story. Do you remember the last time you fell in love? Do you? Good for you. It's a beautiful feeling, isn't it? Do you remember how you longed and how you yearned and how you dreamt? And then you looked at her and maybe you thought, God, I love the way you chew that apple. It's so crunchy. Oh, and the way you slurp that tea just over the edge, Oh, it's so sexy. Love it. And then about 13 months later, when you biochemically fall out of love, 13 months later, on an average, you fall out of love. Suddenly, you find yourself sitting in the sofa. And you go, Jesus Christ, where did this thing come from? Oh my God, and where are my friends? This is a weird thing. And then suddenly you hear a sound. You go like, what's that? And you go over to the kitchen and you look and you go like, oh, it's you. You're eating an apple there. Could you just keep that down just a little bit? Yeah. You're kind of spraying the table there. Please don't.
Morgan Spurlock and the greatest TED Talk ever sold. This one is on a lot of people's lists as the funniest TED Talks ever made, and he's definitely hilarious. This one is all about marketing, kind of like the last one, but he's specifically looking at transparency within the marketing world and how sponsorships and things like that play a role in our lives. He's basically doing it to market his movie, which was the greatest movie ever sold, and it's a movie that goes behind the scenes of how advertising, sponsorships, how big companies operate and how they sell to you. And he's looking at all different aspects of it, the good, the bad, but basically he looks into how it actually works. And his whole goal with it is complete transparency.
That's what I thought. But the problem was, you see, my idea had one fatal flaw. And that flaw was this. Actually, no, that was not the flaw whatsoever. That wouldn't have been a problem at all. See, this would have been fine. But what this image represents was the problem. See, when you do a Google image search for transparency, this is... This is one of the first images that comes up. So, I like the way you roll, Sergey Brin. No.
Next up, we have Andrea Gibbs with The Power of Storytelling. Now, it's not like the other two that I just talked about. This one isn't about marketing or anything. This is a beautiful little TED Talk about how to turn an embarrassing, ridiculous, humiliating story into a positive. She just kind of plucks this little example out of her life where she put herself out there, it blew up in her face, it went horribly wrong, and yet she's openly talking about it in front of everyone. I think whenever you're down, A, you should watch this because it will make you laugh, and B, because it might not make you feel so bad. You can try and see the positive side in whatever embarrassment or difficult time that you might be going through right now.
And I wanted to go out there and make a move on him, but I didn't have the guts. And to be honest, I thought that he was way, way out of my league because he was really, really hot. And I normally go for fat, nerdy guys because they're easier to catch. They are. They have weak knees and they tire easily. It's just how it works. And I was so embarrassed and shocked that I just put my head behind the card and I wanted the floor to open up and just engulf me, but science, that doesn't happen. But I tried to get it to happen by putting my head against the window and just sliding down the glass. I was squatting on the ground and I was looking up at him just thinking, just walk away, mate, just walk away.
And my last recommended TED Talk is by the Minimalists, Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, and it's called The Art of Letting Go. And if you are watching my channel on the regular, you might recognize the Minimalists from the podcast that I recently recommended as well. Basically, it starts with a tragedy. Joshua lost his mum and he has to sort through all her stuff, and then he just realizes how much crap we actually gather over so many years and how much stuff we keep, and it's all sealed away in boxes. We never actually look at it, we just keep it there like this weird safety blanket that we're never going to use again. And so he kind of starts sorting through the stuff, and then he's really looking at, then after he sorted through his mum's stuff after she passed, then he goes into the other aspects of his life and starts decluttering that as well, not just with his items, but just really cutting back on the things that are making him unhappy in his life. Really inspirational. And if you're not running to your closet to sort it out after watching this, then maybe you're doing something wrong with your life.
Let's see, 7 years ago, I was 28 years old, and up until that point in my life, I had achieved everything I ever wanted. The six-figure salary, the luxury cars, the closets full of expensive clothes, the big suburban house with more toilets than people, and all the stuff to fill every corner of my consumer-driven lifestyle. Man, I was living the American dream. And then my mom died, and my marriage ended. Both in the same month. And these two events forced me to look around and start to question what had become my life's focus. And don't get me wrong, it's not like Mom was a hoarder. She wasn't. I mean, I didn't find any dead cats in her freezer. But she owned a lot of stuff. 65 years worth of accumulations. Did y'all know that the average American household has more than 300,000 items in it? 300,000. But of course, most of us aren't hoarders, right?
So those are my 7 top TED Talks that I highly recommend, and they cover a variety of things. Let me know, what kind of TED Talks have you seen that super inspired you? I know that there's a whole bunch more that I haven't fitted into this list, so yeah, share with me in the comments below. I love talking to you guys, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new travel video. But in the meantime, thanks for liking, commenting and subscribing, and I'll see you in the world. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!